Happy Devil's Wednesday. This is the State of Fan Address, episode 333. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Nick Villano of pucksandpitchforks.com as we're streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, Twitch, and now on Instagram Live on the Let's Go Devils Network. Coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios inside the bunkers of both North and South Jersey, covering the Garden State, talking about your New Jersey Devils. The title, I don't know, too little, too late. Palat. That guy.
Palate.
That guy. We all knew he was going to screw us in the end. But good for him, though. Good for him.
I just wish it wasn't the team that was like our direct access point to the playoffs, right? You know, it was like you couldn't pick like any other team, but it's like the Islanders are really the only team the Devils can catch, and they're playing the Rangers, who are just straight up tanking.
Yep.
Right? I didn't even recognize the goalie they put in net tonight, and they're sitting Panarin until the Olympic break. They're just benching them. So, yeah. Last I checked, it was 2-1, but I'm sure the score's updated. I haven't seen since then. But yeah. Sam, could everybody not predict that Ondrej Palat was going to score in his first game?
Yeah, well, that's why Steve Engel says, this is why sports is fixed.
You're probably not wrong.
Yeah,
we've it's either fixed or it's like, it's God's version of comedy, right?
Yeah,
like he plays the chat. But anyway, I don't want to get into too many things that you're not supposed to talk about when you're drunk, but.
The hockey gods?
Yeah, the hockey gods. Nobody talks about the hockey gods. Listen, Zeus could take a slap shot with that lightning bolt real well.
Yeah.
Listen, let's talk about the trade. So how much did you talk about the trade last night? I'm assuming you talked about it in the morning.
Yeah, we talked about it on the morning woo. But I left the more in-depth stuff for you because, I left that. Obviously, I wouldn't talk analytics, but I talked more about the salary cap, how that helps tremendously because the Devils are technically still underwater, even though currently they're $6.8 million free space. But when you budget money, like, in our bank accounts, like a check register, if people used to do that, you really have no money in the account.
So, unless the Devils trade Dougie Hamilton,
correct.
Just to give you an idea of what the Devils, just to let you know what the Devils are facing. Unless the Devils trade Dougie Hamilton, every 10 games of Evgeny Dadonov plays will take $250,000 away from next year's salary cap, even though he's on a 1-year deal, based on how the contract was structured. For every milestone that Arseny Gricic hits, it's another 200. I think it's 200. It's either 250,000 or 500,000. I forget if it's 2 or 4. But for Gricic, it's up to $1 million taken off next year's salary cap. For Dadonov, it's up to $2 million. But to get to $2 million, the Devils have to make the Stanley Cup final, and then I don't think anybody cares, how much we're taking off next year's salary cap if we're making the final. But we need to talk about making the playoffs first. And Sam, it was funny. I was watching Steve Dangle today, who was talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs and their chances, and he's saying that they should sell. They got to sell. They have nowhere to go. The Maple Leafs went 0-4-1 on this current homestand. They still got one more point than the Devils because the Devils have lost 2 games in a row. These last 2 games, simply you couldn't lose them. You couldn't lose them, and they lost them. I know we're supposed to talk about the Palat trade, so I'll switch gears, but you couldn't lose these games. I think it's cooked. They're going to be 7 points out of any playoff spot after tonight. Sam, all of a sudden there's only 29 games left. 29 or 28. That's not a lot of games to make up 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I know it's going to be a tight schedule, but I just don't see it. I don't see the path. But this team's just not good enough. This team doesn't play well. They're playing better than they were playing, 3 weeks ago, but that's not saying much. That team was playing like the worst team I've ever seen. They're not the worst team I've ever seen anymore, but they're still not good. So here's the thing. I think Palat is just step one. I think this team looks drastically different next year. I think the front office looks drastically different. I think the coaching staff is wiped out. I think they're going to Thanos finger snap the coaching staff. I think the core is going to get broken up. And Sam, for the longest time, I was like, you got to let this cook. You got to let it cook. Like, bad coaching, whatever. I defended Fitz. I was like, he's still a top 15 GM. And, with that you can win with. Like, you don't want to get stuck with a bad GM. Well, this year, I was wrong. Like, clearly I was wrong. I will admit that 100%. I was incorrect. He's not a top 15 GM. I'm just going to say that. And this move, it is too little too late. But it's also not the move that does it. Selling on a guy and giving up assets to get out of a contract when you're a non-playoff team who's going to end up having enough, because I think Luke Hughes is done. I think they're going to shut him down. I think he's done. I think they're going to come out of the Olympic break and realize that it's just cooked. How do I say this? I think there's value in selling. The value here is that there's guys on long-term deals, so they could ask whatever they want. Those don't have to trade Jack Hughes. He's got 4 more years left on his contract. They don't have to trade. Luke Hughes just signed a 7-year deal. Timo Meier, I think, has what? He's going
to have 5
years after this.
Yeah, after this
5
season.
years after this. Jesper Bratt has 5 years after this. The one you worry about is Nico Hischier, but Nico Hischier seems like the kind of guy that's going to resign. I think he's just going to be I think he wants to. He's a loyal guy. I don't think he wants to be. He seems like Ondrej Kopitar type. He just wants to stick around. Wants to be where he is. Wants to be the guy. And I know Kopitar got some cups, so that helps you stick around. But he stuck around through some bad times. I think he sure wants to be part of the solution. But then you have to have some hard. You have to make some hard decisions then, because then you're talking about guys who either want to stay or forcibly can stay. And I think this group likes each other. Fansided had an exclusive interview with Jack Hughes, and we had a story about it on Pucks and Pitchforks. And you could tell, even Jack Hughes was saying, he's like, this is a real good group of guys, and they're really talented. I don't think the players think it's them. Maybe it's part of the problem. But
you know what I'm going to say? You know what I'm going to say?
What are you going to say?
It's ownership. It's always has been.
But what impact do you think ownership's having? Is it the culture that they're
Yes.
developing?
Yes. 100%.
Okay. I'm of the thought that the front office dictates this culture.
But who puts
maybe I'm
the
wrong.
front? But who puts the front office together? And
Yeah, you can say they did a bad job. Putting the front
it's
office
not.
together.
It's not like David Blitzer hands the keys over the Fitzy and tells him to go knock himself out. No, he's
And
involved.
that's how we understood it. We understood it as that. And I think you're more right than wrong. Because here's the thing: when Blitzer and Harris first owned the Devils, what did they say? They said Lou Lamoriello knows what he's doing. We don't need to tell Lou Lamoriello what to do.
Yeah, how did that work out? Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then they hired Ray Shero.
Yep.
I don't think Lou Lamoriello wanted to hire Ray Shero.
Of course not.
And then when Lou went to Toronto, we were told that Ray Shero knows what he's doing. He's a Stanley Cup winning GM. We're giving him the keys. He doesn't have to go to us to get approvals.
And then he walks.
I don't think he walked. I mean, maybe he walked, but
Well,
I will never, for the life of me,
they
say
parted
no.
the way they. I'm sorry, the way they did that impromptu press conference with Tom Fitzgerald, that awkwardness. We were at PJ Ryan's when that broke, and the way it was, they mutually parted ways. No, I bet you Ray Shero probably said enough and just walked. He had enough.
Yeah.
Because remember all the pressure that was on Ray, with the PK Subban, the Taylor Hall signing that never happened, but then again, Taylor Hall was at that point gone, and I believe it was Shero and the John Hines not firing him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was part of it, and that's a theme, right? The Fitzgerald waited too long to fire Ruff. He's waited too long to fire Keefe, and Shero waited too long to fire Hines.
And notice that every Devil that leaves under this HBSE era go on to greener pastures.
I wouldn't say all of them. There's a lot of examples of them not looking as good, but
like who?
I mean, like Daniel Sprong.
That's a nobody. Come on.
Okay, who like?
What, Bo Bennett? Like, come on.
Okay, I mean, like, but I'm trying to Brian Boyle never looked as good as he did with the Devils after he left.
But he was getting old.
Sure. Yeah, but I mean, to your credit, there's a lot of examples of Pat Maroons and AJ Greer's and Jesper
Scott
Boquist.
Wedgwood.
That was bad. I've been on record to say that was, if not the worst, one of the worst moves that Tom Fitzgerald ever made, was putting him on waivers. Mackenzie Blackwood's another good example.
Anybody that was on the Florida Panthers the last 2 seasons.
Right. The AJ Greer, just for Bokus, like I said.
Sharon Govich.
Yeah, but he looks bad again. I think he's just an inconsistent player.
No, I think he's on a bad
Blake
team.
Coleman's a good, if you want to talk about a Flames player, Blake Coleman's a good example of a player who had a glow up after leaving the Devils. We knew he was good, though.
Yeah.
He got us a pretty good haul. We mismanaged the assets. That's the problem. Can we talk about that, Sam?
Sure. Sure.
I'll get into, what are we? 8:54. We'll do this for another 15 minutes. Just this podcast. And I'll get into Maxim. Is it Psychopov? God, poor Don
Siprikov.
The reason the Devils are where they are today is development. Their best players don't develop into better players, you look at Dawson Mercer, you look at Paul Cotter, you look at Timo Meyer. You look at there's a ceiling that they hit, and it's not where their ceiling should be. I'm trying to think of like another name. Luke Hughes, Simone Nemitz, like these guys with supreme talent aren't getting where they need to be. Alex Holtz, but then like the guys on the periphery who should be contributing players to this team don't get there. Nathan Bastian, Nolan Foote, guys like Tobias Wieland had like a really good structure on him and then just never turned into anything. Michael Vukovic is a guy who I thought had some talent and just never turned into anything. You look at Jesper Boquist, that's another name where he just never turned into anything here and then goes somewhere else and is actually developed into what makes sense. I'm trying to think of like Mugama Doolin like went to the Sharks and I honestly don't know what he's doing this year, but he looked pretty good at times last year. There's a couple others, but like there's so many examples, Sam, of guys where I was like, this guy was really talented in juniors or overseas or in Russia or whatever. And he comes to the Devils and it goes to hell. I look at Seamus Casey, Sam, and I don't see development. I think Ethan Edwards has passed him, which shouldn't happen. Like, Seamus Casey was supposed to be a top prospect, and we don't even talk about him. A, because Utica sucks. Like, they're terrible.
He made the All-Star team.
He did. Which is fine. Again, maybe I'm missing something. But I thought he'd be like a supreme defenseman, or supreme offensive defenseman by now. Like, yards away from everybody else as far as offensive defensemen in the NHL go. Like, begging to be called up to the NHL. It just hasn't happened. I do like Edwards, though. But again, like this is a talented Utica team, and the team is terrible. Like Angus Cruikshank's a good player. Thomas Bordelot is a decent player. The problem is that here's the problem, Sam. It goes back to the 2022 draft. Is that the Cooley draft, or is that 20?
Yes, it's Cooley draft.
Okay. It goes back to Cooley. Cooley's the pick. I'll concede to you. I was on Shane Wright from the beginning, but Cooley's clearly was the pick. But if you took Cooley or Shane Wright, either one, this is a playoff team. And instead they overindulged, took another defenseman, and didn't develop him correctly. How bad did they bungle both Nemitz's and Holtz's development? I like Nemitz as a player, but he's how do you keep making this many mistakes?
Well, I thought,
how is he not being coached to stop making these mistakes?
In fairness, I think they didn't do Luke Hughes any justice either.
No. And here's the thing, Sam. Here's the thing. This is what drives me insane. Why did you give Luke Hughes $9 million?
Because he asked for it.
Because you need him to have a 7-year contract to get Quinn Hughes.
Of course.
And then after you gave him $9 million, you had a chance to get Quinn Hughes, and you said no because you didn't want to pay for him. You make the first move, and that's the move that has the most risk, right? Giving Luke Hughes $9 million was the riskiest move here. It had more risk than losing Anton Silyev and Simone Nemec in the same trade to get Quinn Hughes, who's the second best defenseman in the world. You had a chance to salvage the season, to create the makings, the foundation of a dynasty, and you didn't want to pay the price because you like your prospects that you can't develop. And that's why you end up here where you have to attach a third and a sixth-round pick and take back a bad contract just to get rid of Ondrej Palat.
Well, look at all the hires for the player development. You know.
Sam, you know me. I'm supportive. I'm an ally. I don't know how you go forward with Kate Madigan in that job.
Or any of them. I'm not even singling out anybody. I'm talking the entire
staff. The head
staff.
of the department.
Yeah, I know.
You got to wipe out the whole staff. You're not developing players.
You know, they brought that.
You're not even developing Jack freaking Hughes.
Well, what about this like sports psychologist that they apparently hired? Is he still there? Megan Dugan, is she still there? I haven't even looked at their directory. You know, the goalie coach. Why is he still there? Is he Marty's pet? I don't know. You know,
there's something there. But like you have, who's the guy who's the scout? Former goalie.
Oh, Scott Clemenson?
Is it Clemenson? I thought it was somebody else.
Now you have me confused. Now that's pissing me off. Help us out, folks. I thought it was Clemenson.
It might be Clemenson. No, Manny Legacy. Former Red Wings goalie. But he used to be a goalie coach.
Yeah.
You have a guy in the building. Or on the road. You have a guy who works for the Devils. Okay. So remind me, how do I say Maxime's last name again?
Siprikov.
Maxime Siprikov. He'll probably be better than Glendening. He has decent peripherals, so his 2 points are not indicative of his play. But do you remember 2 years ago when we said that Ondrej Palat was bad in the bottom six, so you had to play in the top six, but he was a bad top six forward?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Maxime's situation is.
Anders Nilsson, like by the way, goaltending scout.
It's not Manny Legacy?
No, he is, but there's two. So I'm kind of outdated.
Legacy's the guy who I think used to be a coach.
Mm-hmm.
But Nielsen's he was a good goalie for a hot minute, and these are guys who could coach goalies. But we stick with Rogalski, and I don't know why. I don't know. Anyway, going back to the original point, I do think there's a lot of micromanaging. I think there's skip level direction. I don't think Tom Fitzgerald should be making decisions on system or lineups, but I think he does. I don't think David Blitzer should be making decisions on player personnel, but I think he does. I don't think ownership should be deciding who is in what position. I don't think the president of hockey operations should be talking about scouts. I think the head of scouting should, but I think they do. I think it's consolidated power, and everybody who's what happens when you consolidate power is the people who used to have that power now look for other power and take away. Like it's just it's a robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of thing, and ownership takes from the GMs, the GM takes from the coaches, so the coaches take from the scouts take from player personnel, the player personnel takes from the players. It's just constant, and it just turns into a micromanaging mess. And that's how that was becoming a mess. It's unfortunate. I love this team. Sam, this is my 10th season. My first season, Sam, was the first season Taylor Hall was here. This is my 10th, and that's crazy. But 10 seasons ago is when Taylor Hall got traded here. The 1-for-1, the trade is 1-for-1. We just played out Adam Larson a couple of days ago. That was 10 years ago.
Nothing much has happened since then. I'm looking at the Devils' organizational structure right now, and I'm like scrolling through it with my phone, and I'm like fire. But
who do you keep outside of Brodeur?
Well, I'm going to start from the top because we talk about ownership. If you can't get rid of these owners. There's David Blitzer. He's on top. The co-managing partner is Josh Harris. And then there's 3 limited partners, David Adelman, Martin Geller, and Mark Leader. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Then you got Tad Brown on the senior leadership. He's a CEO, whatever. Jake Reynolds, president, New Jersey Devils, Prudential Center. So you got all these, but I don't know.
Are these all like finance bros from like their
day job? Probably. Yeah. That's how business works. You got to have the money, guys, right? Yeah. But again, and this is my opinion, and I think you hit it correct. I think everybody's got their hands on somebody else's cookie jar and should be worrying about their own job, per se.
Yep.
And I would love to go through a lot of their documents. I would love to read the mission statement of this company, this franchise, what the mission statement was. Because under Lou Lamoriello, it was very simple. Was to win the Stanley Cup every season. And it didn't matter if you were the janitor. It didn't matter if you're the singer. It didn't matter if you're a player, whatever. Everybody was on that common goal. That was the mission statement. So you had to be professional. You have, all that stuff was tied around it. This, I think it's tied more towards revenue, value added, all the buzzwords that a lot of these
themselves on the Forbes list being worth 2 or 2.
Oh my goodness! I honestly believe that Harris and Blitzer actually believe their own press release. Like I honestly believe, and then you had Jillian Frechette in there with the marketing and all that kind of stuff, and again. There's a lot of moving parts in this organization. I just think there's just too many distractions. I'm going through this whole list, and I'm like, there's too many freaking employees. No wonder the ticket prices are so high, and it's going to go higher. So look how many damn employees they have before you even get to the players.
I can't deny it. I can't. There's nothing I can say to it, Sam.
See, so I don't want to. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to name names because that's in terms of firing. But do you really need 2 chief revenue officers? Do you really need 2 of them? I guess if you want to make the money. And how many legal people are on this list? It's just insane. I'm going through this list. But anyway, getting back to what we were saying,
This was all a conversation about the Palat trade. We didn't really talk about it, but...
No, it goes hand in hand because right now, let's not overanalyze this trade. You got to get yourself back into salary cap shape. You're still underwater. Here's
the problem, Sam. Is I think they're doing this to buy. And to buy big. And it's just too late to buy big. It just is. I think they're going to trade their first round pick. I think that they're going to I think they're going to move mountains trying to make the playoffs. And then even if you make the playoffs, you got Carolina in the first round. Or if you don't have Carolina, then maybe that's something. Like how much is also, what are your priorities? Are your priorities to make the playoffs to make that playoff money? Or or is your priority to make the Stanley Cup? What is your priority? I don't mind the Devils being run like a business, but you have to understand that being a business and being a business doesn't mean you have to be a loser. I think there's a lot of Florida Panthers fans right now, right? Florida Panthers probably making more money right now than they ever made. It's because they're good. It's not because that they cared solely about the bottom line. It's because they're good. They made they hired the right GM. The reason the New York Yankees are the most iconic brand in sports is because they've won more than anybody else. The reason why the Kansas City Chiefs are so popular right now is because they're winning right now. If you put together a dynasty, there's so many Devils fans from all over the world because of the 90s and 2000s.
By the way, I got to interrupt you. Breaking news. Palat has matched in this game as many points as Sliplikov all season.
Yeah, I saw I got the assist. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that. It's still in the game right now.
Yeah, no. Who's winning? I assume the Islanders by the way.
Islanders, yeah. I think it's 5-2 last I checked.
Well, all right, Sam. That's what I got. That's my thoughts. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna add a little bit to it before we go. That again, this is an ongoing conversation because you asked the question, what's the goal here? The way Lou, which was successful, the way Lou built everything around winning the Stanley Cup, and Lou truly believed. It's not 100%. I'm not saying it's perfect way to think like this. But Lou believed if you win, they'll come. And that's generally true. Generally true. But, with all the marketing people that they have, right? They have a lot of marketing people. They've got a lot of graphics designers. They do a lot of social media and all that. But if your product if the product on the ice is crap, you're going to be marketing crap. But if the product is good, you're going to be marketing good.
Why was Lou in the building yesterday?
Because he had to be.
But seriously, why was he in the building yesterday?
Because he had to be.
What happened yesterday that Lou was in the building?
Johnny Mac.
How did both Johnny Mac eras end with Lou Lamoriello?
Not very well.
Terribly. But Lou Lamoriello still got a shout-out from John McClain yesterday. He traded him under terrible circumstances, and then McClain signed with the Rangers. And then he hired him as the head coach and fired him in the middle of his first season. But people respected Lou to the point that they thought he always knew what he was doing. And I think Lou went about his business in a way that was respectful. It was brutal, but it was respectfully brutal. For the most part. I don't think Herb Brooks would say that about Lou.
Yep. Well, Herb Brooks was a different animal. He was a different breed.
It was. I think they were too similar, to be honest. I think Herb Brooks could have brought Stanley Cups to New Jersey, but they weren't there yet. It was just he was there too early, and Lou didn't have the gravitas that he did with Jacques Lemaire.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and I've said it all along that if you really want to make a difference here, you hire Lou as a consultant and fix this mess.
I wouldn't even hate Lou being the interim GM. I know that's crazy. He's
I've been advocating that for a long time. For the last 3 or 4 months. Yep.
For the right, but you tell him you're not getting the job. That's out of the question. But you could do the trade deadline because he still has all these relationships.
Yep.
You could do the trade deadline. You could do, you can even control scouting for the draft. But you gotta hire somebody before the draft, and Lou has to just walk away. He has no decision-making power once that happens. But he's the kind of guy that's going to break the foundation and say, this is what we're doing. Jack Hughes wouldn't be doing Olympic interviews if Lou Lamoriello was the coach.
Yeah. Well,
he wouldn't be talking to Billy.
Well, yeah. At the same time, I go with Lou's philosophy. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. That's leverage right there. And a lot of, Billy Guerin got traded because of it. He got traded. And again, I know Scotty and that they don't want it. This is not about going back to the past. Is if you look at Lou Lamoriello's track record in Toronto, he brought structure and he brought discipline, and left it in good hands with Kyle Dubas, who would eventually Babcock, was gone and they hired Keefe, right? And then when Lou went to Long Island, which was a mess because Tavares lied to the fans, remember?
Yeah.
Well, why you could have told us? And look at the Islanders right now. Look at the Islanders right now.
They're trying to pull with Marner right now, and I'm a little.
Yeah. I'm
not that.
No, it's two different. It's two different things. Two different things. So, but at the same time, in fairness to John Tavares, he was riding a yellow school bus to practice during that time, if you remember. So.
I don't remember that's crazy. Is that when they were in Brooklyn?
Yeah, things were really messed up with Nassau Coliseum, and I think the players were riding a school bus to practice.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this will be my last point. The Palat trade isn't going to be the last thing you see from the Devils. Maybe even not before the Olympic break. I do find it funny that their last game before the Olympic break is against the Islanders. So Palat's going to return to Prudential Center to put the bad taste in the Devils' mouths before they're off for 3 weeks. I think you got to sell. Everything.
Honestly, Nick, your assessment is way too premature.
For the season or for the foundation?
For the season. In terms of foundation. Yeah, but the way I'm looking at it, the Devils are not that far out.
Pretty far out.
Not that far out.
7 points out. 7 points.
That's still, but that can all be made up by February 5th.
But there's 5 teams ahead of them.
Nick, listen to me. Let me get to my point. The reason why I say it's premature is strictly because the Olympic break is a huge reset. I think, when is trade deadline? Beginning of March?
I think it's March 7th.
Yeah.
It's only 2 weeks after they come back.
Yeah. So for me, if they're not within 4 points by February, the end of February, that's when you sell. So
I think they only have 2 games in February after the Olympic break.
Yep. 2 games, But
how many more? What are they?
wait,
5 games
wait.
for lunch break?
When is the trade deadline again?
I think it's the 7th.
Is it the 7th? I gotta look this up. But I think it's too premature to sell by next week.
It's the 6th.
It's the 6th. So much can happen between now and end of February. I don't think you lose any leverage if you wait. I think you could probably get more.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think this team, as currently constructed, can make the playoffs?
Currently constructed? Yeah, I think they can make the playoffs. I don't think they can make it far unless they want to.
With no trades.
With no trades? With no trade, yeah. Assuming that Timo Meyer will wake up in March. And Jack Hughes is healthy. And Luke Hughes is back. Just making a lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
And is Stefan Nason coming back? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
I'd be surprised. No, before we go, how do you feel about Eli missing the Hall of Fame again?
You don't want to hear what I have to say.
That's why I asked.
Because this is going to be, it's going to get me in trouble. This is why I hate everybody in the media. And this is why I think nobody in the media knows what the F they're talking about. It starts with Stan Fischler not being in the Hockey Hall of Fame. It starts with Belichick. It starts with Eli Manning and all that. Belichick, I get the cheating scandal. I was kind of reading on that. But I think the problem is people in the media have big egos, that their egos can't cash, and that's why they suck as voters. And that's my opinion.
I'm sorry, but the Deflategate thing is dumb. The
Spygate is what
Yeah,
Deflategate. The Deflategate. I truly believe that. I truly believe Tom Brady was just like, come on, like, because I think Tom Brady is not the type to like find an edge by being that sneaky, you know.
Also, who cares?
Yeah,
like truly, like so the football is too soft. Are we serious? Like
yeah.
That's dumb. But wait, like Sam, they won 5 Super Bowls after Spygate.
Yeah.
So like, you know what I mean? And he had 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. You know what I mean? It's the Belichick thing is dumb.
The Spygate. The Spygate thing is, I think who really was man genius. He was a rat, and he paid the price for it. Nobody wants a rat in their locker room, unless you're the Florida Panthers trying to kill him. You know, back in the 90s.
He has no job, right? Mangini's not even in the league, right?
Yeah, like, who wants to deal with a rat? Yeah, nobody wants to deal with a rat. But getting back to your question, like, you know, like the one voter that didn't vote for who? Derek Jeter for the unanimous.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I'm still pissed off that Mike Piazza wasn't first ballot Hall of Famer. You know,
Right.
You know, that kind of thing.
What was the excuse there? Was it like the loose tide of steroids that never really had any bearing?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, just all speculation, all that. I'm still sticking to hockey. I'm still just pissed off about the Stan Fischler thing. You know, and I actually asked Vinny to look into. Do you really have a ballot, Vinny? Because apparently it's the Hockey Writers Association that votes. Because you know, I'd like to make a big push for it.
I've been doing my part. I've been trying to use my social media account to kind of celebrate it. There's more people talking about it, Sam.
Yeah,
there's 4 or 5 other writers, and he has a network.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, all these writers are like, you know, I shouldn't say all. That's not right. What I'm saying is some of these voters, Some of them are like keyboard warriors, right, with their voting. And it's like, what are you doing here? You know, like, try not to overthink it, like Belichick. You know, that lineage with Parcells and, you know, all that, and all the great coaches that kick.
It's crazy.
You know, is it because of his new girlfriend? You don't like that? Like, what is it? It's not about you as well, the voters. You know, it's about, you know, even the whole Pete Rose thing. I mean, that's a little bit more complex. You know, if you could take the gambling out of it, he's the first ballot Hall of Famer, without a doubt. You know, but I just think some of these voters are just like,
right. But he gambled as a coach. Don't make him a Hall of Fame coach. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Anyway.
Or like Terrell Owens not making the Hall of Fame at first, and like having what did he wait 4 or 5 years?
Oh, he was one of the most dynamic players of his generation.
And listen, like I get a guy like Antonio Brown who is truly just like bad for business, right? Like a criminal, basically.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. If you don't want to put a criminal in your Hall of Fame, that's fine. Terrell Owens is just a guy that was annoying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we can't pick our annoying guys that we want in the Hall of Fame. Did Michael Vick make the Hall of Fame?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I
was going to say, that would be like the biggest hypocritical thing ever. But
okay. If anything, Michael Vick should probably go into the Redemption Hall of Fame, because when he you know, was in that dog fighting thing, you know, and I think this is important to say. What, he was in debt $51 million, and the creditors all said that he paid 100% of it, not pennies on the dollar, in terms of negotiation. So that says a lot, where you put your money where your mouth is, where if you're going to do the right thing, you do it 100% the way. So to me, it's like, you know, what he did was bad, but I think a lot of good came out of it afterwards.
So he paid back billionaires, and we're just gonna forget? I don't know, man. Like that ain't doing it for me. I'm big on playing a sport as a privilege,
but he paid his dues. That's what I'm trying to say. He took his punishment. He didn't take any shortcuts.
I understand that, but
he served his jail time.
But
he's allowed to have pets now.
He did a heinous thing for a long time.
But that was the culture he was brought up in. That's what they do. And it's wrong.
I
mean, that's another debate. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm a forgiving.
There's a certain point where you know what you're doing is wrong. There's a certain point where, like, I don't care what culture you're brought up in, like you are either a psychopath or what you're doing is wrong.
But he didn't grow up like you and I. That's the thing. Like, it's hard for us to even judge that. You know.
I don't know. Anyway, we're off the beaten path.
Of course we are. You asked me a dumb question, and I took it a whole mile. Anyway, sorry about that, Nick.
I wanted to talk about Belichick a hot minute, so I'm glad we got there. But let's call it a day.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully I didn't burn any bridges.
Yeah. Pucksandpitchforks.com. I wrote an article. I went really in depth on this Ondrej Palat goal. I went into like how well he played against the Rangers with the Devils. This was like the one team he played really well against. Obviously he did, you know, so it's a worthwhile article, even just talking about the one goal. Did you see the Yankees traded for a reliever with a 7 ERA? What is going on? Sorry, that was a side note. We're going to have a story from John Bailey about how the Ondrej Palat trade impacts Dougie Hamilton. We have, I think, like 11 articles on the Ondrej Palat trade. We covered every angle of this Ondrej Palat trade, Sam. Go to pucksandpitchforks.com.
It's actually really good. It's actually really good. I was actually doing a lot of my research, and a lot of pucksandpitchforks.com was coming up on my Google screen. So,
good.
Yeah, no, I was, and actually I was asking AI some stuff, help me out with some stats, and pucksandpitchforks.com.
We've
cited.
been trying to get integrated in that to Google AI. It's
Yeah.
good and bad. It's good because like our name comes up a lot. It's bad because you don't click on the article, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Go click on the article, folks.
No, actually, I clicked on it like 3-4 times because I wanted to get the more in depth. How do you think I prepare the morning woo, which is tomorrow morning? There's a nice segue. You know?
Well, that's what happens when you have daily articles.
Yeah.
Pucksandpitchforks.com. Every day. You'll wake up to new articles every single day. And you'll wake up tomorrow to new articles.
And you may not agree. And there could be a hot take somewhere.
But guess what? If you may not agree with one, you'll probably agree with the next.
Yeah.
We try to be a dichotomy.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, anyway, we're going to get out of here. Morning Woo tomorrow. It's going to be a triple header Thursday. Morning Woo, Game Day Live in the attic before Devils take on, I think they're playing Nashville Predators. They're playing Nashville tomorrow? I think so. And also Devils After Dark after the game. Till next time, let's go Devils.